You're listening to Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio, helping you understand the blocks you have in your life to being happy, with a wide variety of guests to help you better understand the problems you're having in your own life. Whether you're depressed, poverty-stricken, suffering ill health, or confused about how to take the next step, discover products, services, and information that will enable you to grow with grace and address issues that are preventing you from happiness, health, or abundance. Go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk and find out what's holding you back.
Hello everyone, and you are listening to Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio, where we discuss spiritual growth, what that means, and how it can help you to move forward through the blocks that you have to health and happiness. I am your host, Caroline Nettle, and today's guest is a special friend of mine, Eloise Ansell. Welcome, Eloise.
Hi, Caroline. Thanks for having me.
You're so very welcome. So Eloise is a good friend and mentor of mine, and she's a BodyTalk trainer. She teaches courses here in the UK and also runs a private practice in a few places in the south of England. So Eloise, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself to my listeners and tell me a little bit about the journey that you had on the road to becoming the BodyTalk trainer that you are today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Eloise Ansell. I'm an advanced BodyTalk practitioner and Parama level practitioner based in the southeast of England. I teach BodyTalk Access and Mindscape. So I teach the entry level BodyTalk a one-day class where you come and learn more about it and some of the techniques to use in self, friends and family, and Mindscape, which is all about opening the intuition. So I'm all about all of this kind of stuff. And my journey to be where I am today, well, I'll cut it short. But I'm a bit of a geek. That's my background. So I'm a computer programmer, mathematician, a very science background. And along my journey, I got more interested in people, what makes them tick, and really more about human potential. So while I was in the corporate world, I was very interested in how I could get people to get excited about showing up for work and doing their best. So, really finding things that engaged people and made their life maybe happier, easier, and more enjoyable. So I trained in a few things outside of work. I was a life coach. I did my neuro-linguistic programming to an advanced level. I looked at many different things, hypnosis, all kinds of different things. And along that journey, I started being a very well-paid life coach in my spare time. And I was setting all these big, huge goals for people. And I decided if I was setting big goals for my clients, I would have to set a big goal for myself, because I always think I should, do what I preach. And I decided to run the London Marathon. So I went from no exercise to the marathon in about 9 months. It was hard work. And, I injured myself, unfortunately. It was about 2 months before the marathon. And, I was raising loads of money for charity, and I couldn't understand why I was injured. And actually, one of my other goals for running the marathon was that I had bad knees, and decided the only way to get new knees would be to, really wear them out. So I had kind of two things going on. And so on my journey getting injured, I ended up with 4 weeks of not being able to put any weight on my foot. So, I was hobbling around. And through one of my coaching friends, I ended up just at her house having a cup of tea and ended up experiencing my first BodyTalk session. And I lay there very sceptical, going, what is she doing? And, but, I laughed, my foot still hurt, went to bed, my foot still hurt. But the following day, over the course of the day, all the pain went. And I hadn't even noticed till, the end of the day. So I'd gone from not being able to put any weight on my foot for weeks to being able to run again in about 36 hours.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so it really caught my attention, and I'm like, okay, if BodyTalk can do that, what else can it do? So I kept having sessions, and I get some clients, and I'm sure you do, Caroline, as well as a fellow practitioner. I get some clients that come in, and they present 5 symptoms and issues, and sometimes I fix 6 or 7. Because people have had long-term things they don't even notice the problems. I love those clients. But it has to be right time, right place, and it's really easy for them to shift what needs to be shifted. But I'm not one of those, and it took me a while before I started seeing more results. And BodyTalk isn't something you necessarily have every week. Your body guides when you need sessions. So I had one maybe every 3 or 6 weeks, and over a number of months, my hearing came back, which wasn't even on my shopping list because to me that was impossible. So that shifted, and then I went on to train, and in one of the courses to be a practitioner, I actually had someone work on my arthritis. I'd had 20 years of pain with rheumatoid arthritis, so that was just such a blessing to clear that up. And things have carried on shifting. I've got rid of fears and phobias, improved my circulation. The list just carries on and on. So it's that's kind of my journey, and I went to the training just for my own personal interest, and as a lot of people do, because people like to understand how the body works and the universe works, so they get attracted to do the training. And I practiced on some friends, and a few of them fell pregnant, and I was like, in the end, I just went, do you know what? I'd love nothing more than to do this full time. So I've been a full-time practitioner since 2008.
Okay, well, yes, I do know your story a little bit, but I thought it would be good to, let the listeners know how because everybody's journey with BodyTalk is so different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was in work and somebody was offering a session for a £5, which is £5, and I just sort of like the whole way through was going, what is she doing? I don't understand. This is crazy. But she was telling me that none of my systems worked at all together, so that was why I was so completely out of whack. I had a really poor relationship between my head and the rest of my body, which she fell apart, she found out and was talking about. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I can't say that I actually felt much better after the first session, but after about 5, and I can't tell you why I went back for those other 4, but my body seemed to just want to have some more. The changes were phenomenal. They were tiny, but they were so significant to me. Like I wasn't exhausted during the day, and I was going to bed at sort of 11 instead of 9 o'clock at night. And I don't know, I wasn't quite so allergic to quite a few things. That was one of the things that we looked at really early on, was a lot of my allergies, which were causing me immense problems. So I just stuck with it, and then one day she casually said to me, why don't you become a BodyTalk practitioner? I thought, that's a really good idea. And the training, like you say, lots of people turn up because the courses are just so fantastic for personal development and, like you say, learning. And the people you meet on BodyTalk courses, there's something about the people that are drawn to BodyTalk is just so special, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Shall we tell the listeners, or would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about what BodyTalk actually is?
Yeah, we should do that, really. That would be helpful. So BodyTalk is whole healthcare. So we're really looking at the whole person and the whole story, their journey as to where they've got to. If you go to your GP or you go to see a therapist or even a BodyTalker, you present your list of symptoms and issues and problems. Now, we take intake forms because we're professional, and we want to know what's going on. But when we're working, we put that to one side. We're not diagnosing. We're purely following where the body wants to take us. So every incident and activity in your lifetime is kind of added to your little story of what's gone on and where you've got to. And so what we can do with BodyTalk is we're actually asking the body, what's going on in effect. So where is the underlying problems? What's the root cause? How can we take the stress off the body? And it's all geared up so that the body can heal itself. So we're kind of unveiling, taking out the emotional clutter, improving the communication of the body, helping using any of the tools that we have in our kit to see what order and sequence things need to be addressed as well, so that we can take the most stress off the system and line it up so that it can, heal itself, and sometimes quite quickly. So we're asking the body, that bit that keeps you ticking over, that little bit that knows what's going on and what needs to be done. We're just asking it, what help and support it needs. So, we're kind of really delving in there deep sometimes to find out what the underlying problems are. And it may not be, what logically makes sense to us, or something that we can tangibly go, oh yeah, that makes sense, because we're working at a different level here, and the body mind has other priorities, and it knows the big picture and can really drill down to help us uncover what needs to be seen to make things just a little bit more easy.
Absolutely. Very well done, Eloise. I find for myself the place in my practice where I have the most dramatic effect is where, someone's been around the medical profession, and I'm not in any way saying that the medical professionals don't know what they're doing, but I think in a system where we look at the symptom and try and solve the problem, I think a lot of people get passed around, especially when it's things like, chronic fatigue or depression or things that have got a name but lots and lots, or IBS, all these diagnoses that we're given that have a variety of different causes. And I think when people have been passed around from specialist to consultant to specialist and nobody's really been able to say what's wrong, when we get them on the BodyTalk table and I say, oh, you've got lots of grief from your grandmother, or, there's a lot of rage here at the fact that you weren't looked after properly as a child, or whatever it is, one of the underlying, then somehow it seems to unravel the ball of string a bit easier, because we can ask the body what's actually the cause of the problem. And that's one of the blessings, I think, of the BodyTalk system.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that we can just be open to anything. So, it could be a combination of postural problems, emotional problems, physical problems, markers on your DNA, past lives, whatever it is, whatever part of the picture, if you like, the story, we can unravel it and get there. So, absolutely, like you said, people get passed from pigeon to post,
or pinner, yes,
and they end up with us because nothing else works. We have a reputation for success, so.
We do, and the other thing I'd like to say at this point is that just, and very often we have no idea why we're sick. We don't know that we've inherited something from, great Aunt Joan, or that, my dad had I'm not talking about my dad, but our dad had a real issue with fear around, I don't know, whatever it was, or we just don't know what we have in the big bag that is made up to be Caroline. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so lots of emotional issues, very often when I'm saying, oh, I found a lot of grief, then there'll be tears straight away, because the person suddenly becomes aware that actually, yes, I am in a lot of grief, but I wasn't consciously aware of it, And sometimes the body can just say, don't tell the person, they don't need to know. It's a little bit,
yeah,
too emotional.
So supportive, the system, because it's never going to unveil something or bring something up that the client isn't ready to deal with, or doesn't have the support around. And as you said, if things need to, because we're dealing with deep subconscious stuff here, and sometimes when you label it and tell them about it, then they go, oh, and they start attaching onto it again, and it's not cleared. So that's the one great thing that we can do is work from that place where sometimes we don't even need to know what it is or tell them, and just clear it without having to go through the emotional, rigmarole of looking at it and bringing it back up into the conscious mind. So.
And Eloise, you've met my friend the doctor who has actually done your Mindscape course, I think. Well, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
In both my courses. Yeah.
She's a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine, and she now has started sending patients to me. And what she says is, if she sees, that they're emotionally struggling, rather than giving them drugs, she's like, oh, I think you need to go and see Caroline, because she's really good at getting. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And it's wonderful to send clients back to her, full of the joys of spring, and sort of a way of telling her that what she did was the right thing. So yeah, I'm very, very happy about that.
That's nice. Yeah, I see GPs, and one of the other things that I know we've talked about before, is that the client, what happens in the dynamic between the session is very much based on the knowledge sometimes of the client as much as us.
Yes.
So when I get a GP on the table and I'm going for some anatomical thing, I'm like, how do you pronounce that? What does that bit do? Because they know, and we don't. But I have the utmost respect for the medical world and GPs. I think they do an amazing job given the resources and time they have. And sometimes it is just first aid because they can't actually work out what's caused it. So they're just trying things. It's not very scientific anymore. It's like, well, you've got symptom X, so let's try A. If that doesn't work, we'll do B. If that doesn't work, we'll do C. And it's not really getting underneath to what the problem is. So.
No, I absolutely hear that. And, for me, one of the joys of being a BodyTalk practitioner is that I don't know what the answer is. So I have to absolutely stand out of the way and ask the body. And, my A&P, anatomy and physiology, could be a lot better. And I always laugh with my clients. I'm like, it's the big bone going down your leg if I don't know. But for me, that's fine because I can see it and I know what it is and I know where the problems are. And if they can walk less painfully after the session, I'm sure the fact that I didn't know the name of the bone is fine. But
I love that, and that's one of the joys of the system. Is I came from a corporate background, and a lot of people don't come from healthcare. And the fact that you can go because it's this bit of the leg or that bit of the leg, and you can still get results.
Exactly.
Genius.
It is genius. And the other great thing about BodyTalk that I love is that it works no matter what the person in front of me is going through. So if they come to me and they're just about to have chemo, or they're just having chemo, or they've just had chemo, or they're just going into hospital for an operation, or they don't know what their problem is, or they're taking 100,000 drugs because that's what the doctors put them on, or it really, really doesn't matter. The system is so, I love the way you said that, it's so gentle and caring that it just works with whatever is presented in front of me. And I think that makes the client feel really heard because I don't really mind how you come to me. Just tell me what you're feeling and tell me what your symptoms are, and let's see what your body says is necessary. I just think it's a really wonderful system.
Yeah, it's so nice just to work from that place. When I was a life coach, I used to have to prep and do loads of preparation for a session, and now I just sit down and be present in the moment and hear the client, hear what needs to be said, and then hear what their body wants to look at. And you said it's like opening a sweet box every session because you don't know what's going to come out. It's engaging. I learn from every client. They learn about their body. It's just a really lovely dynamic, a lovely way of working. So.
Yeah, it is a true blessing. And I have regular BodyTalk sessions because, my opinion is everybody needs it because there's always going to be something. I might have had an argument with the neighbour or the tree.
Yeah, I've never met a healthy person yet. We've always got something that our body needs help with. So BodyTalk, it doesn't just work with the physical body. It's working with the emotional, the mental, the spiritual level. So, it's personal development, spiritual development, whatever you're interested in, BodyTalk can help with that. So it's such a wide scope of what we can do that you could have a session every week all your life, because, along the way you'll be feeling, easier, lighter and more healthy and vital.
And more in tune with what you said you'd come here to do. I think for me that's been the biggest gift is to take away all the blinkers that I had on, thinking that I had to do this and do that, and actually learn who I really am and what I'm supposed to do. And that has been my biggest blessing for BodyTalk, definitely.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely. I had a client yesterday, and she said, since having my sessions, it's taken me back to that place where I'm more in flow with life, and I just feel more supported by the world. And even if that's the only outcome you get, that's lovely. It's lovely.
I know what people always say because you do have to say sometimes it is a bit weird and wonderful. It's not anything like anything I've experienced before, but the people that come and try it always say, well, it was really interesting because it was about me, and I have a fantastic testimonial, which I can't remember word for word, but goes something like, leave your skepticism at the door. It says something like, Caroline's weird and wonderful, he doesn't call it modality, but body talk, it's something like does wonders or something, and you really need to try it. And I thought, actually, that's a brilliant testimonial, because it is a bit strange.
Oh, yeah, you know, I honestly, I don't think body talk's for everybody, because I think some people just won't ever get their head around it.
Yeah.
But, you know, those that are ready, it's just so incredible to work with. But, yeah, I remember we had an article, I think it was in the Telegraph a few years ago, and the reporter said, you know, if someone comes to fix my PC, I don't care what they did. And I think that's the perfect way of looking at it, because, you know, when we're working with the body, you know, it can see the big picture. It can see things that we can't. And so, you know, it doesn't always make logical sense in that moment. But over time, suddenly, you know, things come out and you go, oh, that's why it came to that. No. You know, it can seem a bit wacky and woo-woo, but it's, you know, it's heaps in science, it's heaps in quantum physics, you know, it's really at the cutting edge of things. We're always learning in body talk. I've just taken the latest course on the microbiome of the body. You know, for every human cell in your body, you have 10 bugs.
10 bugs, did you say?
Yeah. They're only like 10% human. It's like, I'm like, oh, what's the consciousness of the other 90% telling me to do?
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating to look at it. And, you know, this is only just beginning to make it into like mainstream news. But we already know how to work with it, and we know a lot of what's going on in the science world around this from all the research that's been looked into over the last couple of years for the course. So we're always at the forefront of the scientific development, yet it still comes across as a little bit wacky to some people. They want to know how it works, and, you know, in a few minutes we can't tell you that.
No, and absolutely. And the thing is, you know, every time I get asked how does it work, I say I literally don't know. I literally don't know. Everybody comes with whatever they have. So I thought I had nothing, and it turns out I do. I get a lot of past life issues in my sessions, which means that obviously I've got some sort of, you know, I don't know what to say there. But anyway, so I do get a lot of past lives. The next body talker might get a lot of, you know, whatever it is that they're not qualified, but their gift is. And, you know, when I do distance sessions, because I'd say 60% of my clients don't live in the UK or live in the UK but a long way away from me. So
yeah.
I do distance sessions, and the way I found out I could do distance sessions, I have a very good girlfriend in Holland, and she said, why don't you try it on me now? And I was a bit nervous, but I did. It was a very short session. I thought I was making it up the whole time, I have to be really honest. And at the end, she said, gosh, I feel incredible. And she told me all the things that had changed in her body. And I was like, wow. And again, people say to me, how do you do it distance? I'm not entirely sure. But if you want to look on my website, I have a lot of testimonials to people telling me that it's really, really helped them. So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it's wonderful that you said that, because we don't. You know, like you, I do 50% distance or remote sessions. I have clients all around the world.
Yeah.
And because they get drawn to us, you know, there's plenty of practitioners around. Some people don't live anywhere near a practitioner, and some people just get drawn to work with specific people, and that's great. And you know, I love working at a distance. And like in the early days, you're a bit like, okay, is this doing anything? But then we sometimes think that face to face. But
yeah.
you know, even when I'm doing a face to face session, I'm still doing a distance session, because I'm, you know, I can't, if I have to go into your heart, I can't physically do that. I'm still using my intent and focus. Yeah. That's a really good way of kind of framing it to people. And but yeah, it's wonderful when you start getting the feedback. And you're, okay, yeah.
I know, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. For anybody listening, if you want to find out more about the BodyTalk system, you can literally go to I can't remember the name.
BodyTalkSystem.com.
Thank you, Eloise.
That's okay. And yeah, go to BodyTalkSystem.com. And there are some wonderful videos there. Dr. John Beltran, the founder of BodyTalk, great man. he's done some really interesting videos, so he goes into a lot more depth about things on there, so worth checking out.
So yeah, if you're interested, do go and check that out. I'm just looking at the time, and we said we would do a session on those that had signed up and pre-registered. So because we never know how long a body talk session is going to take, should we maybe start that now, and then we'll chat again if there's any time left over.
Okay, well, let's just explain what we're doing a little bit first.
Yeah.
So when any group of people or a person has like an energy dynamic to it. So a person has an energy form, we can see it and tune into it from a distance. And when, a family or a football team, everybody's got like an energetic form, if you like. Or a matrix might be the word we'd use technically in body talk. And so we can tune in to a group of people. So we've both got the list in front of us of who's signed up and registered for the talk. So we're going to tune into them and see what the kind of overriding theme is, or what we can do today which will support and help the majority of the people there. So we'll see where we go. But anybody that listens to this in the future who didn't register, if it resonates with you, you will shift as well. So there is no, it's always fun when I teach and I pull someone's name out of the hat and they get onto the table, whatever comes up, you can tell why they came out of the hat, if you like, because it's, supporting and helping everyone else. So.
Everyone in the room, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this list is there are some body talk practitioners on here, so I'm wondering if that's the dynamic of the energy that we pick up. But anyway, okay, Eloise, over to you.
That's interesting. So anyway, I'll go quiet for a second and just tune into the group. I can start yawning already. When I do distance sessions, I yawn a lot. So, okay. So as I tune into the group, I'm feeling a lot of, I'm feeling it as nervous energy. I tend to feel things in my body and I'm almost literally shaking. I'm feeling a lot of grief there, and I'm feeling I think it's stress on the nervous system more than anything else. You got anything to add to that, Caroline?
I'm just picking it up as anxiety, and where I'm getting it for me is just below the right shoulder. That's what I'm getting a real sense of help.
Yeah, shoulders are all about burdens in life. The left shoulder could be around the past, so maybe we're just clearing out anxiety, grief, and that kind of tuning into all of that stress for people. Because I'm sure everybody's got some stress.
Do you think?
I think so. Well, okay. So we're tuning in together. So we're going to tag this and we'll see what's coming up. So I think, Caroline, you're actually starting.
Yeah, okay. And how I'm picking up straight away is I'm in the back of the throat. I'm sort of below where you can see when you look in the throat, but in the throat, the swallowing part, and it's just really itching for me. And very often for me that means I can't say what I have to say. I can't speak my truth. I can't. And I feel like I'm feeling really clogged up. And if I look down the windpipe, like there's about an inch, and it's just really, how I'm seeing it is black fog. And for me that means grief. So I've got lots of grief which is stopping me speaking.
Yeah, I'm seeing almost, so from my perspective, I'm seeing when I home in on when you were talking, it's almost like burns. Do you know when something gets really red raw?
Yeah. So, and as I say that and you said the word burnt, I saw witches.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to say there's some past life issue here coming up for being burnt for speaking my truth. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it actually. So, whether you believe in past lives or not, it's just representing some energy, and we'll clear that out. Okay.
Feeling it a bit.
Yeah.
I believe I was a witch, definitely. So nothing further on that for me.
Okay, so I'm seeing a parallel session, so we're going to do some other work at the same time. sort of clearing all that grief and any energy around that's common in the group. I'm seeing, I'm drawn to the right knee, so very much about fear. My knees can lock in fear, and I'm just, it's almost like there's a lot of common themes here around people just being stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck in life, maybe because of the anxiety and the grief we spoke about, but there's just this fear of stepping forward. There's a kind of group active memory, so it's obviously a theme for a lot of people that are going to listen to this. When you just get a little child in the playground and they fall over and hurt their knee and they just cry, kids are always doing that. Yeah. So I'm sure everyone did it at some point. But they're like the tears of a small child just going, and just wanting that warmth and affection, and just someone to tell them that it's okay. And as we used to at school, rub some magic cream on it. So it's it's okay if we fall in life. It's okay if we fail, because that's how we learn. So we've got to get out of being stuck in our fear and not moving forward, and just get out there and step forward. So, because it's okay. So we're clearing out the fear from the knee, and we're actually looking at circulation around that right knee as well. And are you seeing anything else? I'm getting we need to tap that out. So.
I was just getting there was an influence from the kidney on that one.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
I think I saw that but didn't mention it.
Yeah, okay. So just the fear, which is very much the kidney meridian runs up through the knee, round through the fear, round to the kidney, and kidneys are where the fear should be. But I'm getting here it's fear of failure. So very much in tune with what you just said. Yeah, there's definitely a twing of sort of like, if I fail, I will be ridiculed. There's something to do with the witches again. It feels about, I don't want to put myself out there because I won't be accepted, or I will be rejected, or something. So yeah, that's
and the witch in quotes. It was normally a person that just had some natural healing ability, or just some quality to them, which people just ridiculed or scared of. And so we can just fill that gap in with whatever's going on for us now, whether it is people that are interested in healing and, that dynamic, and they're scared. There's stuff coming up again about, being shut down and persecuted for doing that work, because that can hold a lot of therapists and people back from working more in the healing and getting out there with people. So,
yeah.
Okay, should we tap that out? So we'll just... yawn a bit more. Tap that out for the group.
So what we do when we're tapping out, because I'm not sure we've explained that, so we tap on the head to say, listen brain, this is what you need to be balancing, because sometimes the brain's not aware of what's going on in the body. And then we tap on the heart, because that's the hard drive of the body, and it sends out the new instructions around with the blood. And
every time your heart beats, it's sending out a message. So when we update something, we want to make sure it's stored. Yeah, nicely put.
And as you will hear, we're both yawning, because that's how we know that. Well, for me anyway, that's exactly how I know that the energy is shifting. I spend most of my distance sessions yawning, so it sounds as if I've never been to bed.
Absolutely. I don't yawn in life at all now, apart from when I'm doing sessions.
No, me
hilarious. I come back off holiday and go, oh yeah, yawn. So if you want to tap on your head and heart as we go through this, then just take some nice deep breaths.
So it's basically tapping on the head for one in breath, tapping on the heart for one out breath. Yeah.
Lovely.
I feel different.
Yeah. Okay. So, getting there's something else that you are going to pick up first, and I'll add to.
Okay, so what I would normally do is say, so we then ask the body, have we done enough tapping? So is any of that still a priority? And I get no. So then we say, I normally say, is BodyTalk still a priority? Because for me, I always want to know that what I'm doing is what the body wants to do. And I'm getting a yes. I'm actually going into here's my AMP for you, the two big bones in the pelvis.
The ilium.
The big fat ones that sort of are the really crumbly, and what I should be feeling is really sturdy, because these bones, really integral, in walking and holding me upright, and very much this part of the body is about how do I feel supported, and I feel with these bones I feel really crumbly.
Yeah, the pelvis is all about support and foundations of life.
Exactly. So as I go into the crumbly feeling, fantastic choice of words, Caroline. It's actually a little bit existential how I'm seeing this, and it feels a little bit like, I've said to the world this is who I am, and I don't believe it. So it feels as though I'm in a feeling of being a fraud, or not really living up to my reputation, or that fear that everyone always talks about, I'm frightened of being found out. Well, it's not really that, but this is about I'm not really in alignment with who I should be. That's what I'm getting when I go in there. And it's really related to what you were saying about the knee.
Yeah, I think we're just continuing that story.
Yeah. So that's all I'm getting for there, and I'm being told you're to take over.
Yeah, I'm seeing something in the thoracic spine. So, between the shoulder blades, the spine there often, can get quite contracted. And that area has a lot to do with heart protection, because it's around the back of the heart. So I'm getting to do some release work on that area of the spine, just to loosen it up a little bit. But that underlying theme of being found out as a fraud, and that's resonating on the level of the heart as well. Because if we show up and truly be who we are, with our vulnerabilities and just putting everything out there, this is me. That's quite scary, because we tend to want to people please and fit in with everybody, and within our relationships as well, and how people see us and expect us to be. If we change, that can be kind of quite confronting for people. So we're trying to hide ourselves away, and that's what I'm getting there. It's very much that heart protection of of hiding the true self.
And from there, can I take over?
Yeah.
From there, I'm going up into the jaw, the hinge of the jaw. So we would call that the TMJ. It's right next to your ears. If you were chewing a toffee or something, you would know exactly where your TMJ is. But it's where a lot of people hold their stress. And what I'm really getting here for this session is a sense of lockjaw. And I don't mean that people's jaws are locked, but it's a figurative thing of like, I almost feel like there's very little movement. I'm feeling really tense with it. So it is where a lot of the people in this group hold their stress. But I also feel it's related to that I can't say what I need to say. So it's feeling very much about I'm going to keep quiet because it's safer. But for me, it really, how I'm feeling it is it really does feel like lockjaw. I'm really frozen in this fear of being heard or saying the wrong. It is about there's a bit of humiliation. I feel like it's about. But I'm going to say, here I am. I'm a BodyTalk practitioner, and everybody's going to laugh. It's that kind of sentiment that I'm getting. So I'm keeping stum because I don't want to be ridiculed. I think there's just a really big theme going on here. So for us, then that would be pelvis, up to thoracic spine, up to lockjaw.
Yeah, I want to throw in the reciprocal there for the TMJ. So the supporting point on the body would be the sacroiliac joint. So just bringing that together as well. And I'm getting a lot of fear in the bones in the TMJ. So we'll clear that out.
Is it specific fear or just fear?
No, just fear. Probably linked into the theme of everything that's coming up. So we don't need to be more specific. Time to tap out?
Think so. Why not? Okay, so normally I would put my hands somewhere, but for some reason I'm being told to put them on my heart. So this is bringing in perhaps the thoracic spine that we were doing. So I'm just going to do some tapping out now.
We're observing what needs to be done, and then we're just tapping it out to raise the awareness of the body-mind to deal with it.
Big yawn.
Oh, that feels good.
Yeah.
Kind of loosening up there.
My neck's just wobbling now.
Yeah.
Obviously lots going on there. Yeah, I can feel the stress just kind of draining away. And we just kind of tap until it feels like we're done. There's no set amount of tapping. I don't think I need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And usually when there's a big one, that's symptomatic of the end of the tapping as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that feels amazing actually.
That feels really nice. It's almost like everyone's had this cloak on, like really heavy jacket of just all these responsibilities and perceptions of how I should be and fears of, being myself and moving forward in life. And it just feels like all of that's been like dumped on the floor.
And I'd be surprised if anybody who listens to the show in a year's time, even who's never heard of Body Talk, can't relate to any of this because it's very global to me. It really does.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how it kind of tuned into this kind of space that I think everybody will relate to on some level. So whatever layer your subconscious is kind of with these issues, it will just take a layer off. So pretty wonderful. Now I'm getting into session.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was just going to. I'd let you see. I see what you. Yeah.
So, but I'm getting a little homework for everybody who's listened to the session, actually, just to get out in nature and just, at the moment here, we're in the northern hemisphere, it's nice and sunny, so those in the, that can get out into the sun just for a few minutes, just to allow the sun and the nature, just to go and walk in nature somewhere, just to connect with nature in some level, just for a few minutes, it's almost like to cement in the session. It's like nature doesn't care who anybody thinks about it. Do you know what I mean? It's that resonating with something that's so pure and just showing up as itself. So.
I wrote an article a very long time ago. It's one of the first articles I ever wrote about what is a tree. A tree doesn't get self-conscious. It just stands there and is amazing. Does it get resentful because this bird's in it, nests in its tree and this one wants to as well? Just the whole article going on.
Oh, wonderful.
How incredible trees are and how they just give. And, for me, one of the most healing things is sitting my bottom on the ground and literally back against a tree and just tuning into that amazing energy. I love it. I just love it. So it was interesting that you brought that up. So to me, that was a demonstration of a body talk session, and I've never done one at the same time as somebody else before. So thank you. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. Very often when I've done them before, I would do a bit, then I would pass it over to Eloise for the next link. But no, I've never actually done one like that before, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it. But at the end of the session, it's quite common for the body to say you're dehydrated. I mean, that seems to be just across the board. Everyone in the Western world seems to be not drinking the right fluids at the right time or whatever it is. So I very often, say you need to drink a bit more water. Now, as body talk practitioners, we're not qualified to diagnose anything, but sometimes the body will say, this person needs to go to the dentist, or one of mine was very recently, you need to go to the chiropractor because I had a bone that I needed crunching, or I might go to the doctor about this problem. And it's really fun. I have this wonderful story. So I treated this gentleman who had chronic ME. He had 3 beautiful children, and he'd gone from being a really active man to basically getting out of bed was really, really difficult. And we did one of the techniques that we use is called an emotional release. And he had a memory from when he was 18 and he nearly died, and it was stuck in his shoulder, and we released it, and of course, ding, he comes back to life. So his wife comes to me, he's just saying, you've just given me back my husband, I can't believe it. He's back on the farm, working all the time, it's amazing. Fantastic testimonial, in fact, you'll find that on my website. But anyway, the wife came, and she really didn't think that there was much wrong with her, so we let go of a bit of a grief around, she born 3 children, and one of them was a bit, emotional or whatever. And so, the last one was pretty sticky. So we did some release work around, the emotions around giving birth to her last son. And at the end of the session anyway, so we did all this, and her body said, you need to go to the dentist. So I said to her, your body is saying you need to go to the dentist. I've just been, she said. Okay, that's fine. I'm just leaving that with you. That's what your body is saying. And she came back 2 weeks later and she's like, I'm so angry with you, Caroline. I said, why? She said, well, you told me I needed to go to the dentist. 3 days later, I wake up in the middle of the night, searing pain, because one of my teeth had, I think it was cracked. I was going to say split, but I think it had cracked. So she had to go for emergency dentistry. And I said, well, look, at the end of the day, I'm not making this stuff up. It's what your body's recommending. And I think it's a great, great thing. But I do sometimes come across things and I'll say, oh, you've got this virus. And I'll be like, I don't actually know what that is. Please go home and Google it. It's just what your body's telling me. And you really need to not take it too seriously because it's come up to be healed. Do you find that sometimes you...
Well, yeah, because the thing is, not all of these things are physical. They can be conscious. So, so I remember I did a fair. So people were coming and having a taster session. And I saw this lady, and she came back to me a few months later, and she was like, well, you said there was a problem with my lymph. And I'm like, no, I never said that. Your lymph came up as a priority. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Because I could just be improving the communication between that and something else. So, it's a education for us to tell our clients as well, that just because something does come up doesn't mean that you have it, and it could be something you saw on the news that resonates, and it causes problems. It's just fascinating how everything kind of comes together, and your body can see that big picture. And I love your story about the dentist, because that happens a lot. But the body can come up with that big picture. And I remember I had a client that came in for a session, and it went to an environmental factor. So the environment affects us as much as anyone else. And it went to the nursery across the road from our house. And she was like, well, I haven't got any problems with the nursery, whatever. So I'm like, well, it's come up, so we'll tap it out anyway. She came back. I didn't see her for like 3 years because she didn't need a follow-up. She came back and she was like, do you remember that last session, Eloise? And I'm like, you might have to give me a clue.
And you're like, no.
I never teaches it. But she said one word and I went, oh yeah. And I remembered exactly how I went. And I got to the nursery, because I saw tomatoes or something, and that was and I saw that again. I went, oh yes, I remember. And she's like, well, you won't believe it. 6 months after the session, the nursery had a planning permission put out to put a housing estate on it. And all of the residents then spent, months battling this because they didn't want to, lose the nursery. And, so it was a huge stress on the system. Now, we didn't know that the day of the session, but the body can see that big picture. So when we're working on this level, it's fascinating to see what comes up and what gets on us.
It really is. I'm so thrilled, Eloise. This has just been a really good hour for me. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, it's okay. My pleasure. And, it's, it just also showcases what we can do a little bit, gives everyone a little flavour of body talk. So.
Exactly. Do you want to tell everybody how they can get hold of you, or how they can
sure.
Too?
So my website's called Flourishment. Flourishment. That's FLOURISHMENT. So flourishment.co.uk. And you can just drop me an email at Eloise, that's ELOISE @flourishment.co.uk. Yeah, give me a shout if you've got any questions. Always happy to answer them. And if you are in the UK or around and want to see any of my dates and come and meet me, feel free to get in touch.
Or, in fact, go on one of her wonderful Access courses. Because Access, which I think is just a brilliant invention of the BodyTalk system, is so you don't need to train as a BodyTalk practitioner, which takes a long time. Not a long time, but there's a lot to learn. You can actually go on an Access course, which is 1 day, and you can learn 6, I think it is, of the techniques that we use, and you can then take those home and use them on your friends and family. And
we have 5 techniques and a few routines, and it's a wonderful day just to learn a bit more about BodyTalk. and and learn these techniques. And as you said, you don't need any more training than the day. I always say, learn it in a day, use it for a lifetime. Because anytime you cut yourself, or you burn yourself, or you have an accident, or someone you know does, you've got something you can use that works. It's phenomenal.
And yet, we're saying here it's kind of the primary school, where BodyTalk is the secondary school, and then Parama is the university. That's how I sort of explain it. And yet we have phenomenal results just from the access day. And
I was sat on a train with a lady once that had head to toe eczema. And, I don't do sessions outside a clinic, because, it has to be the right setting. But I offered to do access on her. And I got a text the next day to say it had gone.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some emotional thing behind that.
I don't know.
Okay, Eloise. Well, listen, thank you so much. Now, what we were going to do for this call, anybody who's listening, if you think you'd like to try BodyTalk with either Eloise or myself, do email us. My email is spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk. .co.uk, and the email is just info. If you are interested in trying out some BodyTalk for yourself, either email Eloise or myself, and we will give a special discount to anybody who uses the password Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio. How about that?
Perfect. Yeah, no, it'd be lovely to meet some of the people that get to listen to this over the years.
It would. Okay, well, listen, I'm going to say thank you very much, Eloise. Really appreciate you coming on. That's been really good fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope it's been helpful for the listeners.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Please do go and check out Eloise at flourishment.co.uk. And I would just like to talk about the next show now, which is coming up on June the 17th. I am really excited because Lucinda Drayton is coming on. And if you haven't heard Lucinda Drayton sing, then you really are missing out. She's got the voice of an angel. I've been lucky enough to be sung to by her personally, and it's just one of the most emotional moments of my life. It was really fantastic in a retreat in Somerset a while back, and it just moved me immensely. So I'm going to be playing a couple of her songs and chatting to her about how singing has enhanced her life and how she helps other people with her beautiful, beautiful voice. Thank you for listening to us on Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio. If you'd like to make a donation to help with the running costs of the show, then please go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk. You'll find a page where the radio shows are on it, and you'll see a PayPal button that you can use if you want to help keep the show going. I really love doing the show, so thank you for listening in. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be kept informed about the upcoming shows that you will not want to miss. Stay safe, and I hope you find the tools that you need to grow with grace this week. I will speak to you next week with Lucinda Drayton. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Spiritual Growth Tools live on the radio. For more information, go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk.